We are the insurgents.
And we will be going to your call, Skyler, Brendan, Mark, and others, 866-582-9933 in a moment. But first, I want to talk to Aaron Dykes about this latest article out of the New York Times, which basically goes over how the banks hired a lobbying firm to keep their derivatives from being regulated, correct?
Right, yeah. I mean, they got derivatives rammed in about a decade ago against the Glass-Steagall Act, knowing it's just pure looting, profiting, shady accounting, and they knew in this financial crisis they were going to crack down on derivatives, so they hired a secret lobby to fight against it.
And let's talk about it right now, because I guess the guy that they actually hired to fend off derivatives regulation is Edward J. Rosen, who's a partner at the law firm Cleary, Gottlieb, Steen, and Hamilton. And a confidential memo Mr. Rosen drafted and shared with the Treasury Department and leaders on Capitol Hill, as politicians and market participants say, played a pivotal role in shaping the debate over derivatives regulation. See, they're always in bed with each other, Aaron. It's never enough, is it?
I know. If you've heard Webster Tarpley when he's come to do interviews or on his own radio program, you know, he never stops talking about these derivatives. It's the big 1.5 quadrillion black hole story. Mm-hmm. And it says in the article that this Mr. Rosen character wants the banks to stay with Federal Reserve oversight because they know it's lax and basically nothing at all.
And meanwhile, the Obama administration is now saying that the Federal Reserve, they might disband the SEC, and the Federal Reserve is going to further regulate itself, and that they think that their Federal Reserve is the one that should really decide what's going on in the economy. And they're going to stop all of these Bernie Madoffs and otherwise, Aaron.
Yeah, but the details of this pretty much show that if the Federal Reserve actually had oversight, AIG never would have crashed the way it did. Those derivatives wouldn't have been the problem they were. Mm-hmm. But you could see they want to keep it hidden here in this New York Times article dated today. And they wanted to keep the derivatives hidden straight up because it would cut down on profits.
Yeah, it literally says right here, but increased transparency of derivatives trades would cut into banks' profits, hence the bank's opposition. Customers who trade derivatives would pay less if they knew what the prevailing market prices were.
Oh, yeah, that's the whole trick, right? Credit default swap. Now, I don't know if you saw on Bloomberg, they actually are talking about, in the headline, will there be an audit of the Federal Reserve over this very AIG derivatives matter? Mm-hmm. So the questions are being raised by some of the right people. I don't know if that means we're actually going to get a meaningful accounting, but we're certainly pushing for it.
Oh, wow, check this out right here. This is a great article. I don't know how Jaron found this, but aside from a funny haircut and malnourishment, he sometimes has a nose for news. Check this out. Wall Street Journal, Carlyle looks to buy Silverton Bank. Remember the Carlyle Group died? All the conspiracy debunkers, the Carlyle Group didn't make any money on the war. The Carlyle Group isn't really a powerful, military-industrial complex business. Well, they're good. Well, now they're trying to buy Silverton Bank. The Carlyle Group, Inc., and other investors may acquire the failed Silverton Bank, according to a story in Monday's Wall Street Journal. The paper cited unnamed people familiar with discussion who also said the deal for Atlanta-based Silverton would include government assistance. Carlyle, a Washington, D.C.-based private equity firm, headed a bid for Silverton before its failure in May, but was rebuffed by regulators, the Wall Street Journal reported. Why don't you tell people who the Carlyle Group are there?
That would be one of your typical military-industrial complex groups. Mm-hmm. The Bin Ladens were in it, but they stepped down. There was a car wreck, but nobody got hurt.
Yeah, and not only that, but the Bush family was heavily into this. In fact, on the morning of 9/11, George H.W. Bush is in a Carlyle Group meeting in New York. Yeah, see, it's in my movie Fabled Enemies, but George H.W. Bush somehow spends the night in the White House on September 10th, gets up early on the morning of September 11th, makes his way to New York City, where he's literally in a business meeting with Bin Laden's half-brother. But there's no problem. There's no issue.
I mean, the Bin Laden family aren't just in all these worldwide construction firms. They're also in the depopulation groups.
Yeah.
They're in the deindustrialization groups, the third world groups. I mean, they're in everything, and we're supposed to believe we're in this, terrorism fight.
Against one guy.
We're fighting the eugenicists, and we all know that. Yeah. And we're fighting the derivatives.
The bankers and the eugenicists seem to be top dogs, and they really do seem to be one and the same when you start looking into this. But, the the little petty backstabber patriots out there want to say, no, it's this group. You're a part of it, Jason Bermas. Aaron Dykes, you too. You're a Jesuit assassin along with Alex Jones. We know. You're starting to get that, right? Yeah, right? You people don't know how insane it is till you get into the office. I mean, I had my share of attacks before I came out here because of loose change and, all that other stuff I did. But it was never on the level that it is now. I mean, I truly have a new understanding for what Jones goes through on a daily basis, just lies and disinformation and attacks. And Aaron, who basically, I mean, you're the webmaster for Jones Report. You do reports. You do a lot of the editing here. You do great camera work. You're probably the hardest working man in show business that nobody knows about. I know that's a well, not show business. That's a James Brown kind of deal. But you are. I mean, you're here all the time, Aaron. You're a hard worker. You're not a Jesuit assassin. Well, do we even want to say what you were accused of recently?
I don't know, but you know how it works. If they can kill the messenger, they will every time.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. All right, Dykes, I thank you for the.
The point is they are putting heat on the Federal Reserve and these credit default swaps. We got to.
Well, last time I knew, the bill to end the Fed, or not end the Fed, audit the Fed, was 179 co-sponsors.
Well, there's that bill, but then there's Bloomberg talking on Friday about specifically auditing the Fed over its role in the AIG matter.
So it wouldn't even need a bill, is what you're telling me.
Well, I think it's just two separate questions, but the point is, from the left, not the left-right issue, but from the Ron Paul camp, we're going to audit the Fed. We have all these sponsors. It's almost half the House now or something.
Yeah, it's 179 is what I've heard. That was Sunday's numbers.
And it's running through these news wires, too, is the point.
Yeah.
Over these credit default swaps, and that's just the issue we got to put some focus on.
All right, brother. I'm going to take some calls. Thank you very much. Yes, the great Aaron Dykes, everybody. Go to jonesreport.com right now. Check them out. All right, let's go to Skyler in Texas. Skyler, you're on the line. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to inquire, who actually has seen these torture photos, the newer ones?
Who's saying they have who's saying they have the new torture photos? The report that I got, hold on, it's right here. I got it next to me, man. I want to say I got it out of the London Telegraph right here. Let me read you the title. Again, this is almost like a side issue because in 2004 we had Seymour Hersh and others, and people in the House and Senate who were able to actually see some of the videos say that children were being raped and tortured on these videos, and they will never be released. I don't understand why we're still dwelling on this because it's so obvious that they're torturing. In fact, let me say this: the foreign media published a ton of photos. Here it is right here. A ton of photos that did not make the mainstream media in this country, and I have them. And, I'm almost tempted to do a show if they weren't so graphic, if they weren't women being raped, if they weren't the same people that you saw being attacked by the dogs with literally 3/4 of their head missing. It's just goo on one side. And that's how I know that these photos are real. They came from the same source. There are pictures of these people before they were murdered or before they were heavily deformed. And these ones did make the foreign press. And this is the headline out of Reuters. It's not even from the Telegraph. Wednesday, May 27th. Photos show rape and sex abuse in Iraqi jails report. Photographs of Iraqi prisoners abuse.
That's what I'm getting at is they're guilty of having child pornography.
No, absolutely. Child pornography, they're guilty of pedophilia, my friend. They're raping children.
They are.
Yes.
Oh, and this should be the biggest issue here. I mean, yes, everything else is extremely terrible, but here they are with child pornography, and they still have it.
Listen, I am livid at the amount of apathy in this country, and really just the amount of ignorance out there that people will still argue that they're not really torturing and there's no evidence that they've tortured and that these photographs aren't showing anything bad. And the issue is always waterboarding. It's always waterboarding. And waterboarding isn't a good thing, but they're literally taking things and sticking them in people's orifices. They're literally having dogs bite people to death. They're literally connecting. Listen, they're connecting people with electrodes and having them electrocuted to death in front of their parents. I mean, dude, they're sick. They're bottom line sick until we own up like adults that this is actually going on and we should be stopping it. And we shouldn't be accepting the rhetoric that we have to stay in the Middle East and that Guantanamo Bay can't be closed when we just signed a bill for $83 billion more for the war in the Middle East. None of that $83 billion can shut down Guantanamo Bay. And I believe there's a story up today at Infowars.com with a video Colonel Peters is saying that we should kill everybody in Guantanamo Bay. No trial, no judge, no jury, just the hand of death, my friend.
Yep, it's the Fourth Reich. It's